Hey guys, what is up? Today I'm going to be talking about my second character video, which is going to be on Rose Nylund. Rose, who was of course played by Betty White. Okay, so I said last video that now that I had a new perspective on Blanche, Rose was my new least favorite character, and that still stands. It does. That's not to say she doesn't have her moments. Her comedy is freaking brilliant. She gave me some of the biggest laughs of the series. I also enjoyed some of her Santo love stories, even if I didn't love them all, but just... I guess what I enjoyed most about them was just how she'd casually bring them up, knowing full well how much they annoyed the other girls. Oh, but anyways, I also tended to enjoy her in, like, plots where she was paired up with one of the Golden Girls, or, you know, when they're in groups. But when she was on her own with other people that weren't the Golden Girls, that's when I often wanted to hit the fast forward button. I don't really know why, and I don't think it's a criticism on the character so much from me as it just is my personal thing. Which, you know, that's fine. Still though, I have a lot to cover about Rose. Okay, so first of all, let's go over some personality stuff. Now, throughout the series, Rose was many times referred to as some variation on clueless. I disagree with that to a degree. I think she could be at times, for sure, and I definitely think she took things literally, but I also think she was way smarter than she let on. You know, I don't think she was given enough credit for that. I don't really have a good reason or, like, proof to back that up. That's just what I think. I've thought it since, like, I don't know, season 4 maybe. But either way. I also think she wasn't necessarily the nicest of the 4. However, she was probably the sweetest, if that makes sense. For sure, she was the most open. I know I just said that she could play up her cluelessness sometimes, which I think she could, for sure. But other than that, I do think she was pretty open and pretty herself. And I think she definitely valued that, which is great. And I do say that with a comparison because I think the other girls, especially, well, maybe not so much Dorothy. I think Dorothy kind of falls in the middle. But Sophia and Blanche, for sure, I feel like they had a lot of walls up. And I feel like they had this very carefully curated image that they wanted to show the world. Whereas, again, just Rose was just so vulnerable and open most of the time. And again, Dorothy, I feel like she could be open, but I also feel like she wasn't to Rose's level of that. Nothing wrong with any of this. I'm just saying how I feel like it, you know, came off to me. Anyways, now I know I just said Rose was super nice, but she had another side to her. If you've watched Golden Girls enough, you probably know that Rose could be competitive as hell. Holy crap! Like, she just turned into this whole other person, and honestly, I loved it. Like, she could be kind of mean in episodes like The Competition when she kept dropping everybody as partners, but it's just so great to see, well, not great, but it's super cool to see someone who's usually so open and sweet just be so out there and just so, I don't even know the word, but she's just so competitive, I guess. It was beautiful. Oh, but anyways. Okay, now for some relationship stuff. First of all, romantic. Rose was married to Charlie for a number of years. That number fluctuates depending on what episode you watch. However, what did stay consistent, I think, for the most part, is her and Charlie met when they were kids. You know what? I just realized something. If Rose's story is to be believed, the one, I don't remember what episode it was, but she said something, her and Charlie met when she was 7 and Charlie was 8, which means she's known Charlie back before she knew her parents, because this was back when she was in the orphanage. That wasn't relevant. It was just something that popped into my head timeline-wise, and I just think it's interesting that they just went so far back. And yet we never saw Charlie on screen. Ever. He was the only one out of the girl's husband's, or Dorothy's case, ex-husband, that we didn't see. Which is, I'm wondering if it was a deliberate choice or if it was just written like that. Like, it didn't feel awkward in the flashbacks. Like, it didn't feel like he should have been there. Rose had some great flashbacks. This is another sidetrack, sorry. But the one she has in A Piece of Cake when she's talking about leaving St. Olaf was just heartbreaking. Oh my god. I don't know, like, Betty White did such a fantastic job with that, like, monologue. Oh my god. And the ending, that last line, oh, what was it? It's my birthday, I get the rose. I don't know why, but that line almost had me in tears. It just had such a huge impact on me, and I really can't give a good explanation why. Oh, I love that flashback. Okay, sorry, back on topic. Like I said, it didn't feel weird that Charlie wasn't there. I wonder, if there was a reason. Okay. I also thought it was good how how they dealt with Rose moving on after Charlie died, and, how it took a while. Because in the very first season, there's an episode where she's dealing with, moving on after Charlie for the first time. And I thought the show handled that pretty good. Again, never been there, but it felt good, and it felt delicately handled, which was really nice to see. And then there was the other notable relationship she had, which was Miles Weber. Or Nicholas Carbone. Or maybe Samuel Plankmaker. It was great that Rose had a steady boyfriend on the show. It was cool to see that because she was the only one who did. But, man, I have questions about this dude. And I'm sorry, I have to go on a little tangent here because the Witness Protection Program plot is on a whole other level. Okay, the plot itself was fine. I actually did enjoy it quite a bit. But the more you look at it and the more you think about it, the dumber it gets. Okay, first of all, in season 5, Miles' daughter Caroline comes to visit. Is Caroline also in the Witness Protection Program? Or does she know about this, knows that he's Miles now, and is totally free to go visit? Wouldn't that potentially put Miles in danger, as well as maybe Caroline too? Like, maybe the cheese man is following her. Why would this be a thing? And I don't think she's ever mentioned again in connection to the Witness Protection Program story or otherwise, so great job, writers. Also, after the Witness Protection Program plot was all done, after the cheeseman was gone, after it was safe, why would he not either stay as his current identity of Samuel Plankmaker, and again, just stay in Miami, or, even more logically, why wouldn't he go back to his old identity of being Nicholas Carbone? It's safe now. Wouldn't he want to be the person he used to be? Like, he could just, he could still stay in Miami. He could still teach, which, why was he allowed to do that? He didn't have a degree, I don't think. Like a teaching degree. But, or he could go back to being an accountant or whatever he used to be. I think he was an accountant. But even if he wanted to be Miles for some reason, because, I don't know, he really liked that identity, he liked who he was as Miles, which, okay, fine. But would he be allowed to do that? Like, wouldn't that identity be gone because the Witness Protection Program gave him a new one? Like, I don't know much at all about the Witness Protection Program, but it feels like I'm putting more thought into this than the writers did. I'm sorry, it feels like they did that plot and then totally forgot about it. Okay, sorry, had to get that off my chest. I feel better now. Other than that, though, the relationship was interesting, to say the least. Now, I didn't like Miles very much, except for in his very, very first appearance. I really liked Dancing in the Dark. I thought Rose feeling just so out of her depth with Miles and his friends was so relatable, and, Miles, showing her that she was enough, because of course she is, was great, and it just gave me all the feels, and I bought the relationship. I was almost invested in it. But then, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Maybe it was the storylines, maybe it was my Rose problem, maybe it was Miles, I don't know. But if I look at it objectively, I do think the relationship was kind of interesting. you know, the dynamics, they were clearly a quite opposite attract couple, and yet I feel like in some ways they were just really similar. It worked. There was the cheating, of course. Rose cheated on Miles with Buzz and Twice in a Lifetime. Yes, that was cheating in my opinion. There's no way around that. I don't see a way in which that was not cheating. I don't care if Miles did eventually know, it still counts in my opinion. Then there was the episode where Miles is becoming careful with his money and Rose gets annoyed. Okay, one, you've had money troubles, Rose. You know how it feels? I don't know. Maybe don't judge so fast. Two, if you're that upset, have a talk with the man. Don't take Blanche's advice and decide to sabotage your relationship by going out and seeing other people. Did she actually cheat in that episode? I don't remember, but I do remember her singing that annoying song, I'm gonna cheat on Miles. That was in that episode, right? Because that song, wow, that annoyed me. Oh, God, Rose. And Miles did have his cheating moment too. Now, this one I felt was out of character for Miles, so I would normally waive it because I tend to waive one-off things that I feel like are out of character. Personal thing. But this one I'll talk about because one, I feel like he was in character for Dorothy, which that's a thing for the Dorothy video. And two, I'm talking about their relationship, so I feel like I have to bring it up. Miles and Dorothy had a moment in the Midwinter Night's Dream episode. Okay, first of all, Miles, buddy. You love Rose. You talk all the time about, like, how much you care about her, and you did a lot for her, and dude. And second, Dorothy, we're gonna do it more in your video, but why would you do this? This is your best friend's boyfriend. Why would you want to do this? God. I will say, I noticed when I was rewatching Dancing in the Dark earlier today, Dorothy and Miles did sort of show, for a second, that they did have something in common. So it wasn't totally out of the blue. I could see them having, sort of a bond and sort of having a bit of a friendship going on. So that episode makes a little more sense. But still, dudes, why would you do it? Also, did Rose ever know? Like, properly know what happened? Like, I know we had that whole cupcakes conversation thing, which was scary and intense in that conversation, and I loved it. But did she ever really understand? I don't remember. Hopefully she did, because otherwise it's so much worse. Oh, and for the record, I am talking about Miles here only on Golden Girls. I know there's more to cover in Golden Palace, which, like I said, I'll cover that in the Golden Palace video. Anyways, that's Rose and Miles. Now for some familiar relationships. Okay, to start off with this, I want to say the meeting with Rose's biological father in season 6 was fantastic. That episode, to me, was on point. I felt like it was handled pretty well. I mean, obviously, nothing's perfect, but it was really good as far as I can think. Like, yeah, it was a little convenient. It's a sitcom, though. What do you expect? Just, Rose, they're talking to him and the interactions and the whole thing about her biological mother and how she ended up in the orphanage, and it was great. Also, I think the whole Rose is adopted thing was handled super well on this show. I get annoyed when I see or read constant fiction about people who are adopted who have to find their biological family because they are their quote-unquote real parents, and their adoptive family isn't where they belong at all. They need this biological connection because that's the only thing that will make them happy. And, like, I'm sure... I'm not saying that's invalid or anything. I don't know. But I am saying that I like to see more positive portrayals of adoption. Because, again, I always see it portrayed in a pretty negative light, I feel like, for the most part. But here is great. Like, Rose said she had been curious on and off about her biological family. She was curious when she was little, when she was in the orphanage. But then when she was older, with the Lindstrom, she said she kind of forgot about it a lot of the time. Of course, there was the whole she thought Bob Hope was her dad thing, which, yeah, we'll get there in a second. But, the Lindstroms were her family, and she loved them. And, even when she found her biological father, I definitely couldn't see her cutting ties to her adoptive family because those were her parents. She loves them. They're just, well, I mean, her parents were both dead, I think, at that point. But her sisters, speaking of her sisters, I liked her relationship with Lily. I thought that episode was really good. The one with, Lily being newly blind and trying to deal with all that. I thought that was handled pretty well. I thought Rose was very mature in that episode and just handled the whole thing in a way that was great for Lily, even though I think it was hard for her to do at times. Holly, on the other hand, okay, Holly was like, I didn't even hate her. She just felt like a non-character to me. I don't know why, but I had to struggle to remember who she was. That whole episode, just, I don't know. Just, I didn't buy, her reasoning for being a jerk. The whole quote-unquote touching scene with Rose did not work for me. I just didn't like Holly. Also, while I'm on the topic of Rose's family, I loved her mother, Alma. Holy crap, I don't know why. She was amazing. I loved her dearly, and again, I don't really know why, but it's fine. I know a lot of people, like, from what I've read, a lot of people didn't love the way Rose treated her in that episode, and for sure, Rose babied Alma. For sure, she gave her more help than she needed. But that, to me, felt pretty in character for her. She likes to help people. She's sweet. She wants to be helpful. I can even think of a couple instances where she sort of tried to do that for Sophia, but Sophia took none of that because she's Sophia, and being vulnerable is the worst thing of life for her. Sorry, Sophia video material here. God, I need to stop getting off topic. It's fine. But yeah, I like the way that episode worked out. I felt like it was concluded well, and Rose, realized her mom she didn't need to be babied. That was good. Now for some relationships with the girls. I actually thought Rose had a pretty stable connection with everyone. I felt at least with her and Blanche, ironically enough, because again, they were put together so much. I just didn't feel that deepness to Golden Palace. I don't know why. I feel like I'm probably alone on this one. It's okay. Rose and Dorothy were the closest. Dorothy had a great connection with everyone, if I'm being honest. I think she really felt like the glue of the four. Rose and Sophia, though, I was actually surprised by how much I liked their dynamics, and I don't know why. It worked to me. It worked for me. They just played off together so well in a way that I felt like they did have a deeper connection, unlike Sophia and Blanche, where they said it was a deep connection, but I never really felt it. With Sophia and Rose, I bought it. But, that's just my opinion. Okay, so before I get into some top Rose moments, I do want to go over Rose and the Bob Hope thing. Listen, I know, that episode was weird because it felt like the point of it was for Rose to move on past the Bob Hope thing, to realize that, you can have a dream, but not, that it's not necessarily gonna happen, and that Bob Hope doesn't know who she is, and that he's not gonna come to their thing. Which, it felt like it was going there for the longest time, but then one, Bob Hope did show up, and two, after saying, what was it, something about, I'm not gonna have any more silly dreams, Rose goes, "Thanks, Dad," or whatever she said. He was like, what? Dude, what was the point? Maybe it's that, you can still dream, which is great, but, The whole thing felt weirdly handled, and I don't know. Anyways. Okay, so this next part mostly falls under top Rose moments, but it also doesn't, but I feel like I should cover it. VSEs. Rose had a few. There was the one high anxiety when she's been addicted to pain pills for the last, 30 years? Listen, okay, first of all, I loved the episode. I did love the episode a lot. It was really great, and I thought it was handled really well. I love to see the girls rallying around Rose and the whole thing about, she had to go to rehab, and she'll always be working, on making sure that she doesn't get back into that. But I don't know, wouldn't she have shown some signs? I don't know this for sure, I'm just guessing. Wouldn't she have shown some sort of signs, or wouldn't there have been something? I don't know. It very much seems like the writers just had that idea. Like, it doesn't seem like it was something they had planned from the beginning, which, that's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I will say, though, I totally bought that the doctor in St. Olaf would be renewing her prescriptions. It's St. Olaf. They're not going to question anything. I freaking love that town. Sorry, but that town is awesome. I loved the episode where they visited it. I laughed so hard. The other one that I really liked for Rose was 72 Hours. The one where she thinks she might have AIDS. I feel like that was handled quite well for the times. I felt like the reactions were probably pretty realistic. And the whole episode, I felt like it had the tone felt good for the situation. Like, it didn't feel like it was too light. So I liked that. I feel like I'm always complimenting the show for not being too comedic when it's a sitcom. And that feels strange to me. But there are just some things I feel like they should be serious about it. And if they're going to cover it, I'm glad that they're, being relatively serious about it. That's how I see it, anyway. Okay, the other thing was, I don't think this was actually considered a VSE per se, but the storyline was very, very serious. And I don't think it was handled well. I kind of touched on this in my Blanche video. And it's in season 6. I can't think of the episode's called. I want to say it's Feelings, but I totally could be wrong. Either way, it's the one where Rose gets sexually assaulted by her dentist. Now, my problem with this is not how she handles it. I'm glad that she deals with it. I'm glad that it is, not just pushed under the rug. However, I think they took a too light tone with it. Like, unlike in the Blanche one, I feel like they didn't treat it, like, they didn't not treat it seriously. It was just the tone. It bugged me a lot. And I feel like it should have been handled more seriously, because that's, it's disturbing. And I give them credit for trying, but the Blanche one was handled so much better, in my opinion. Just the tone was just right. And this one, it was just, they went for the laugh just a bit too much for me. Okay, now we're into real top Rose moments. So, like I said, a lot of comedy stuff with her. Oh, she cracked me up just endlessly. Oh my God, Rose. Some of her stories were just great. Although I do feel like she exaggerated on those. Like I said, I think most of the girls exaggerated on their stories, except for maybe Dorothy. Even she did a little bit, but again, less Dorothy. For sure, though, Rose, I think she liked to get the shock factor from the girls sometimes, so she definitely exaggerated those, but some of them were just, they would just show up, and again, half of my laughing is from the reactions that they get, but just, I don't know, she talks like she just knows that she's getting those reactions, and she's just totally down with it, and just her delivery kills me. Also, Rose just had some, like I said before, Rose is sweet. One of my favorite moments, it was not really about Rose, but it actually goes back to what I was saying about Dorothy and Rose having a close relationship. It's in Sick and Tired when Dorothy has to go to New York to see another doctor, and she asks Rose to go with her because she says, like, Rose makes her feel better or whatever it was she said, and I just thought that was really nice friendship moment and a character moment for Rose, because I could totally see that. She would definitely be super supportive, and unlike, you know, other people, she wouldn't, she would, you know, be open and just be there for her without making any sarcastic comments, which is great. And that's totally Rose. But I do want to end on my favorite Rose moment. Well, okay, hard to say my favorite, but it's up there. And it's, you might be able to guess, it's Isn't It Romantic? Pretty much, like, listen, I loved the rep in that episode. You know, 80s, seeing that representation was really good. Seeing Rose's reaction to it was super good. She was so, like, she was okay with it, and there was no accepting period. There was no her working through being able to deal with it. It was just, okay. Like, you know, I might not like you that way, but I have, like, you know, we're still friends. I don't care who you like, you know? I thought that was so great of Rose, and it just, that episode is one of my top episodes. It just made my heart warm. And yeah, that's my Rose video. You know, I feel like I actually probably grew to like her more through making this video. That keeps happening. I love that. She's still my least favorite, but that's definitely no, like, I don't think that's to do with her at all, really. It's just the way it is. Yeah, if anyone has any thoughts, opinions, thinks I'm crazy for my unpopular thoughts, please put them in the comments. My next video is going to be on Dorothy, and that should be up sometime soon, hopefully in the next week. I actually got this up pretty fast, so that was nice. Okay, I will see you soon. Have a great day.